Ukrainian medics are saving lives as soldiers hold the line against Russia's advance near the city of Pokrovsk. Reuters joined the Med Corps of the 14th Separate Assault Brigade and was told that Ukrainian forces have managed to slow down the Russian advance on the eastern city of Pokrovsk.
9 out of 10 wounds come from grenades thrown from drones or FPV drone hits. 1, maybe 2 out of 10 are bullet and mortar wounds.
It is difficult for everyone. We are here, the families are far away. I have a wife and 2 little daughters. They miss me. That's how it is.
Russia lost more servicemen in the battle for Pokrovsk than during the entire Second Chechen War, reported Khortytsa, Operational Strategic Group of Troops spokesperson Viktor Trykhubov. In an article published by RBC Ukraine on Thursday, Trykhubov said that the Russian army has suffered 15,000 personnel casualties, including 7,000 killed in action. This is almost 3 times more than Russian losses in the Second Chechen War back in the 90s, when the Kremlin subdued the breakaway Republic of Ichkeria. Trykhubov explained that Moscow is currently throwing all available forces and reserves to try and encircle the city. However, for the moment, they are suffering enormous losses in personnel and equipment as they cling on to small villages southwest of Pokrovsk. President Trump is ready to double down on sanctions against Russia in order to end the war in Ukraine, stated Special Envoy for Ukraine and Russia, Keith Kellogg. In an interview with the New York Post, he criticized the current implementation of U.S. sanctions, claiming they are only about a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of economic pressure. While the measures, particularly those targeting Russia's lucrative energy sector, are significant, Kellogg noted that there's still room to intensify them. In the same interview, the U.S. envoy noted that Ukraine will need to keep up its military pressure on Russia until the beginning of the negotiations. However, he added that the approach to ending the war should be pragmatic, which implies certain concessions from both the Russian and Ukrainian side. After the Azerbaijan Airlines passenger plane crashed near Aktau in Kazakhstan, Baku has formed an evidence base and is preparing to appeal to the International Court against Russia. This was reported by Azerbaijani media, APA. This news came a day after a preliminary report by Kazakh officials, which showed that the plane had sustained external damage and was riddled with holes in the fuselage. The aircraft lost its GPS signal in Russia's airspace, while the black box recorded 2 external noises over Grozny. Immediately after the first sound, the hydraulic system started to fail. According to APA, Russian officials, experts, and media continue to deny involvement in the incident, instead attributing responsibility to the aircraft's crew. Meanwhile, Reuters reported that Azerbaijani investigators recovered a fragment of a Panzer S missile from the plane. Ukrainian forces launched a wave of assaults in the Kursk region, increasing their advance up to 5 kilometers behind Russian lines southeast of Sudzha on February 6th. This was stated by the Institute for the Study of War in their latest report. Footage analyzed by the ISW indicated a Ukrainian advance north and east of Cherkasskaya Konopelka along the Sudzha highway, capturing the Kolmakov and Afanasyeevka settlements in the direction of Ulyansk. Various Russian mill bloggers expressed concern that further Ukrainian advances in the Kursk region could threaten the arriere guard of the Russian forces. As of yet, the Ukrainian High Command have not corroborated the details of the operation. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development is going to invest at least $1.5 billion to support the Ukrainian economy and businesses during wartime in 2025. In an interview with Reuters, the EBRD's president, Odile Renaud-Bassot, stated that the institution will continue to focus on Ukraine's private sector, particularly energy, after repeated Russian attacks on the national power grid, as well as on national and municipal infrastructure.
Last year we invested, when we deployed 2.4 billion euros of investment in the country, increasing from 2023, and since the beginning of the war we deployed 6.2 billion, which is much more than what we were doing before the war. So we really step up our investment in the country, and our plan is to continue with this kind of level of investment. At minimum, I think we aim to have 1.5 billion of investment, but if we can do more, as what happened last year, we will do it.
While in Kyiv, the EBRD's chief met with the Ukrainian president. In a Telegram post, Zelensky stated that they discussed expanding support for state-owned companies, increasing direct investments in the private sector, and cooperation in the banking sector. Also among the topics was to provide support for internally displaced persons and securing new housing for Ukrainians forced to flee their homes due to the war.
І треба допомогти цим людям на новому.
We must help these people receive proper housing in their new locations. This is the most pressing issue for millions of Ukrainian displaced persons. A home of their own. And our partners definitely have the resources to help with this. I have also given relevant instructions to Finance Minister Marchenko and Deputy Prime Minister for Restoration Kuleba. Within 2 weeks, a clear, effective and understandable support program for internally displaced persons must be in place.
In temporarily occupied Mariupol, while demolishing destroyed buildings, thousands of buried citizens were thrown into the garbage without proper exhumation. Petro Drushenko, head of the Center for Occupation Studies and deputy advisor of Mariupol's mayor, told Ukrainian espresso media that Russians are not conducting any search operations or exhumations in the city that was devastated by Russian forces after the beginning of the full-scale invasion. On his Telegram channel, Andrushenko also released a video stating it shows how construction debris, along with thousands of unidentified victims' bodies, were tossed together into an enormous pile. The Russian-installed administration is reportedly using a nearby concrete factory to build new fortifications and houses available to purchase on mortgage. Swedish troops have officially entered into NATO's multinational brigade in Latvia's AZAL military base. According to a statement from the Swedish Armed Forces, this marks the Army's first major contribution to the alliance's standing forces since Sweden joined NATO in March 2024. The Latvian public media LSM reported that the first contingent of Swedish troops come from a mechanized infantry battalion of the South Skåne Regiment with up to 600 personnel.
We are not at war, but we are not at peace either. The gray zones are too many, the hybrid attacks too frequent. None of us are here to seek confrontation, but when the rules-based world order is challenged, we do provide stability.
The multinational brigade in Latvia is led by Canada and consists of around 3,000 soldiers on high alert. It currently brings together forces from 14 NATO countries. The brigade is one of 8 multinational combat groups the alliance has established along its eastern flank. The Russian Ministry of Defense has confirmed donkeys are being used on the front line across Ukraine in the service of their military. Kremlin State Duma politician Viktor Sobolev told Gazeta RU on Thursday that this is completely normal and even necessary in certain circumstances as a tactic to strengthen military supply chains. A few days ago, Russian mill bloggers spread photos showcasing donkeys being used to carry ammo, food, and equipment for the Kremlin's troops.